Okay, everyone, sorry about that. We lost the connection, but we're back. So hopefully you're still here. And we're back just in time for
And we put a
questions.
meal together when we were out.
That's right.
That's how quick it was.
Yay.
Dinner's ready.
So, do we need to finish off, or are we ready to start questions?
The last comment that I was making about what Cindy's saying, that it doesn't have to be expensive. I think the message we have to give is that you should do the best you can with the resources that are available.
Yes.
And so, even Michael Pollan says it's more important to eat vegetables than to the fact that they're organic. That's, wonderful if you can afford it, but if not, just make the best decision you can with the resources you have.
I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. So you both agree that it doesn't have to be more expensive to eat healthy, to be healthy.
It is so expensive to go out to Subway. You can, for $6, I can feed a whole family. And that's that $6 or $5 Subway. I said, give me the money, I'll fix you a better meal. And the kids know that. They go, Chef Cindy can feed us for almost nothing. So, and that's basically what we do.
I think also, there's a lot of good writing. Mark Bittman has written quite a bit on sort of comparative economics in eating. So he said, is fast food really cheaper? And in fact, if you look at the number of calories in fast food, because the number of calories is so high, the cost per calorie is lower than cooking a meal with real food. But we're in the midst of an obesity epidemic. We don't need cheap, empty calories. We need good nutrition. So if you look at nutrient density, you can come out much better from a regular supermarket where you can buy a can of beans and an onion and a head of lettuce and make a meal that is nutrient dense for much less than you might spend on a meal for 4 at McDonald's.
There you go.
And you got to do it seasonally. And that's what I teach the kids. Do seasonally, buy what's on sale, buy enough for 2 meals. If you're going out to just purchase for yourself, it's going to appear to be more expensive. But when you're cooking for the whole family, then it is less per person to do that. What does a pizza cost? $20 or $15? Come on, you can feed a whole family for that. And if you don't believe me, you come to my classroom and I'll show you how we do it on nothing.
I love that idea. And even individuals, they can follow the same rule, because if you're making food for yourself, if you make several meals at once, first of all, you cut down on the time that you spend in the kitchen, and second of all, you have the meals ready. The next night you eat a dinner, it's already in the fridge.
Yeah, and if you take, like if you roast a whole chicken, and then you pick off the meat and you put it in little baggies and stick it in the freezer, when you go to make a restuffed baked potato, or you want to do a pasta, and then you can take out those little pieces of meats and mix them with some veggies, and you've got a really wonderful pasta or a restuffed baked potato or a stir fry. So save everything. Save everything.
Totally agree. So we do have some questions coming in. The first question is, do you have any tips for engaging kids and teenagers in cooking?
Do you want to take that?
We can. I'll start
I'll
off with
hit
that.
that one. Yeah.
The tip for engaging them. Oh my goodness. So you're going to have to take the time to teach them. And that's what parents are going to have to do. Why kids don't like to cook is because they don't want to get cut and they don't feel comfortable with the knife. Take a class with them. There's people out there like Cooking Matters and 18 Ways where you can take a class. Take a class with your child from your local community. Make sure that they get good skills. That's the only thing that holds back. I'm a cooking teacher. So what holds the kids back is they go, oh, I don't know how to hold the knife. Learn proper technique and safety and sanitation, and then set them free, because that's all they need to know.
I'm coming from absolutely the opposite angle. I completely agree with Cindy, but as somebody who has no proper formal technique and I'm still cooking, I can't pass that on to my children, and they're too young to put into a cooking class. So I think my tip would be take them shopping with you whenever you can for food. Let them have control. Let them pick. If they see a weird looking vegetable, don't say, no, we can't have that. If you can afford it, buy it and find a way to cook it. And then let them feel they're the one deciding. If they're the one that decides how much pepper a dish needs, and you say to them, are you sure? And they say yes, then they are much more likely to eat that than if you put down a plate of food in front of them and they didn't see where it came from.
I also teach children that are autistic in my classroom, This has been the first year that I've done that. So there's 8, they're just like standing back, and they come every day, and I have a table, and I always, I've taught them different things. And in the beginning, they wouldn't taste anything. But the more they were engaged and the more they cooked, they started to get interested in it. And now they all put out their hands. So you want to taste what you did? They're all eating that. So it's about the engagement and it's about the practice. Your children may not eat the food that they're cooking the first couple of times because it'll be odd to them, but soon they're going to be engaged. And that's what I see happening in my classroom is the more they're around it, the more they're having to do it, the more they take ownership, and then they want to taste it. And they're looking around to see if you like it or not. And that was the biggest thing. If they can get their grandmother or their father to eat what they made, then they're more apt to be eating it too. So that's what I'm seeing in my classroom, especially with teenagers.
Wow. So we're ready for the next question. Any advice for getting picky eaters to like real food?
That is a hard one. I'll start with that one because I deal with a lot of young children and that question comes up a lot. And it's stressful. Believe me, I know when in the moment when the tensions are high and you've made a great meal and your 4 or 5-year-old refuses to eat it, it's stressful. And I think the key is to just take a breath and realize the number one thing you can do to help picky eaters grow out of that is to eat a good diet yourself. If you are eating and enjoying your vegetables in front of your children, they will one day make similar choices. And another thing you can do, again, is to really involve them in the cooking and the shopping and let them be a part of the process, and then they'll be much more likely to try it. That would be my advice.
I'm going to go back to being the teacher here. I was doing food at the preschool, and I brought in and was cooking with the kids and brought in lunch because I wanted to see if we could change the palate of the schools. And it was kindergarten through 7th grade every day. And in the beginning, the kids didn't like the food. But what I said for them to do was I will feed the teachers for free and the kids' parents, we replaced the lunch program there. So I said, I want the teachers to come and to sit with the kids at the table, and they were all eating community. Well, in the beginning, they threw some of the food away. But the teachers, they ate, and they said to the kids, put your napkin on your lap, you're going to use a fork and a knife, because mostly at school, the kids just go, they eat by themselves and they throw their food away and they go out. I had parents that sent me notes that said, my child now eats tomato sauce on their pasta because they sat at the table and they watched other kids eat it, and the teacher said everyone has to take a bite of everything, and that teacher changed the palate. And it takes 6 or 8 times or 11 times to change the palate. So I'm going to say I'm proactive for cooking in the class from kindergarten. Get in there with your children. If you know how to cook, go in and help the teacher. The teachers need to do this, and it needs to be in the curriculum. And I'm going to keep saying that. Put it in the curriculum. We can help teach your kids because it was the schools and that cafeteria that took away your child's palate by the food in the cafeteria. So it's our job to bring it back. So we need to support you. Right?
One last thing to add to that, Karen Le Bihan, who wrote this beautiful book, French Kids Will Eat Anything, or something like that, she writes about how in France, there's a rule that no food can be served more than once per month on the school lunch menu. So it's basically taste training. They teach their children to eat like we teach our children to read. This is an A, it makes this sound. This is a beet, it tastes like this. This is an endive, it tastes like this. And that exposure to different tastes leaves them with a much broader palate. So maybe we can learn something from that as well.
That's seasonal cooking. So whatever happens to be seasonal, we do. Fruit and veggies of the month and stuff. So that's great.
So we've got a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to keep going with this. Any real food ideas for when the sugar craving hits? You guys have any thoughts about that one?
So I think there are ways in which, firstly, when you in general reduce your sugar, as Cindy was mentioning, you become more sensitive to the amount of sugar in your food. But there are also some tricks. If you add, for example, a bit of vanilla essence when you're baking, or a bit of coconut, fresh coconut into your baked goods, you need less sugar because the aroma of those things tells your brain this is something sweet. So you can actually do with less sugar. I don't know if you have any tips on that.
For me, because I don't eat sugar, any added sugar at all. Once I do, I want to eat more sugar. So I have fruit at every meal. I drink, I'll have beverage, because most of the time what I am is I'm thirsty and I'm tired. And sugar is, your brain knows it's energy. Glucose is, so look to see if you're sleeping. If you're sleeping enough, stay away from caffeine. That's what I do. Take a minute to just sit with it, because if you can, I'll draw in a breath and I'll say, okay, I really want that sugar. Am I tired? Am I thirsty? Am I nervous? Am I anxious about something? So I kind of talk to myself, and then I sit through it, and then I'll say, maybe it's time to eat. And that's what it could be. So to cover it up without facing, for me, it would just, then it would never go away. But to address why it's happening has really helped me. So water, sleep, take a look at yourself.
I love that idea, to stand back for a second and just ask yourself, what is my body really asking me for? Is it asking me for food, or am I needing more sleep? Or am I needing to take a breath just
Am
from
I lonely?
the everyday?
Do I need to talk to somebody? Are you girls hungry right now? I mean, we're talking, and the people that are watching us are engaged with us. So what's happening when you're engaged? Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Those are the things that I have to ask myself.
Being more mindful of
Yes, mindful.
I think there are also certain times of day when, for example, we might, at the end of the day, the children are all asleep, and you kind of head to that cupboard where the no foods are kept. That cupboard.
Sure,
Everybody has that cupboard. But so maybe Cindy doesn't have that cupboard, but we do.
I've gotten.
I have it. I have
Yeah,
a husband and children.
okay.
So we've gotten into the habit of sort of deciding sometimes, it's the end of the day, we've had a very satisfying dinner, and I'll go up and just brush my teeth, just as a reminder to
Yes.
myself that the eating for the day is done.
That's breaking it. That's
Yeah,
breaking
breaking
it.
the
So
habit.
that's thinking. And you went upstairs. That's what I do. In the beginning, when I first lost my weight, I used to go, okay, done with dinner. I'm going up to take a bath now. And I'd be in the bath for an hour or two in a bubble bath, reading a book, going, just don't go downstairs. Don't go downstairs. Because you're going to eat if you go downstairs. So I had to learn to soothe. I had to think of a different way to soothe myself. 16 years later, I still take a bath, and everybody knows, get mom or not a bubble bath, because that's what she does. Think of a way to replace yourself in a positive way, to replenish.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to the questions. What is your favorite real food hack? Is there a meal you can prepare in 30 minutes or less?
Every meal I prepare is 30 minutes or
There you
less.
go. How about
Me
you,
too,
Maya?
me too. We cook very quick things. For example, I remember 10 years ago, if you gave me a piece of raw fish, like a fillet of salmon, I would have thought, what on earth do I do with that? But now I know I can put that on a pan, I can sprinkle it with a bit of salt and pepper, and I can spread a little bit of olive oil and lemon, or some chopped onions, or some little bit of garlic, and just put it in the oven, and that thing will cook in 10 to 15 minutes. It's quite amazing. And while it's cooking, you can either be boiling some brown rice or boiling some pasta. There are ways in which you can do this but it takes practice. That's the only thing. And once you start, you'll never go back.
So you can cook very simply, is what you're saying, and it doesn't have to be a crazy complex recipe
Right.
in order to be tasty and good, right?
In fact, one of my favorite things is, I do this at school all the time, we'll take the whole chicken breast, and the kids will go, oh, I have to cut this up. And I said, no, take the whole chicken breast, put it in water, just cover it with water with some salt. A little bit of salt in there, and just, how much salt? Just enough, kind of like the ocean, not too salty. And, well, it is salty. Anyway, while it's boiling, what they're doing is they're chopping up salad, or they're heating up some refried beans, or heating up some corn tortillas or whole wheat tortilla. When that chicken, in about 8 to 10 minutes, they shred it, and then they put it in the salad, or they put it in their burrito, and they're eating in like 10 to 15 minutes. My class is 55 minutes. I have to do 15 minutes of education, and then I have to get them up, and there's 34 kids in my class, and then they have to start to cook, and then they want to eat, and then they have to clean up, and they're out. They can't mop the floors. Oh, I just need an extra 5 minutes, and then they can mop the
Not the
floors.
floors, but
Not
they're
the
out in
floors.
55
They're
minutes.
out in 55 minutes with an education piece, with a cooking, with eating, and a community building, because they all have to sit down together.
So if those kids can do it in 55 minutes,
Oh, absolutely.
we can all do it.
Coach them